After 7 days at sea and covering more than 3,000 miles, we arrived in Southampton. We left there to travel to London and take a train up to Yorkshire, where we visited family and had the great fun of experiencing village life in beautiful Kirby Fleetham. Certainly in our family, you don't have family time without eating. And we surely did eat. From tea rooms on the high street to the village pub, in family kitchens, ours and others, it was just food, food, food. And all of it was wonderful. The village pub couldn't be located more conveniently, as it's right across the street from Mary's house. The first Friday night we were there, we had what the Brits called takeaway. The pub's amazing fish and chips.
I will not touch them anywhere else in the world.
It's like a really thick pea soup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called Yorkshire caviar. That's what we call it.
And we went back again the following week. And amazingly enough, we had the same outstanding fish and chips. Of course, the village pub, the Black Horse Inn, is more than just a pub. It's an inn with some beautiful rooms. It's a lovely restaurant with a facility for private events such as weddings, as well as being a local gathering place. The Great British High Street. Main Street in most towns is known as the High Street, and it's populated with stores of every kind, from butcher to baker. Don't think there's any more candlestick makers, but there are florists, kitchen stores in North Allerton. There are not one, but two kitchen stores, both of which I visited more than once. There are yarn stores, shoe stores, just about anything you can think of is available on the Great High Street. Our very first stop on the High Street was to go back to our favorite butcher, Coburn's. You may have seen the video we did there 2 years ago. We were shopping for the roast for our Sunday dinner, and we got a magnificent piece of beef, which you'll see cooked later on.
You do a bit more well done, or you've got the top side which must be a bit more rare.
Yeah. What would you like? Well, I prefer the rare.
Yeah, the top side.
Yeah. How big a piece were we looking for? Do you want me to give you a price?
I see. Oh, that's huge.
So that's $30.67 in that piece.
After a busy morning of shopping, we felt we really did have to stop for refreshment. So we went to a beautiful tea room on the high street called The Institution, where we had a really delicious lunch of freshly made sandwiches, beautifully served. It was a real treat. Apart from all the stores on the high street, there's a very big supermarket called Tesco's, one of my favorite places to visit. And Mary and I were there several times during this trip. And one of my favorite things to do there is to pick up my supply of marzipan to bring home for my holiday baking. North Allerton's High Street does have a Marks & Spencer's, but it's not a full-service store, it's just a food hall, and an amazing food hall it is. Once a month or so, they feature a special called Dine In for Two at £10. And for £10, you get an entree, you get a side dish, a dessert, and a nice bottle of wine, all for the amazing price of £10. One of the world's great bargains. Northallerton has been a market town since the 1200s, and that tradition continues today with Market Day every Wednesday. It features a large variety of stalls from, as you can see, fresh eggs being brought in. There are bakers, there are flowers, just all sorts of things. And it adds a fun atmosphere to the town, although it does make it very crowded. Most evenings weren't complete without a sunset glass of wine. And on this particular evening, we visited niece Susie and her husband Giles' house. It's a very old house which they are in the process of renovating. And quite a renovation it is, too. We've got to plan a trip back in the next year or so to see the final results. On our way down to Helmsley for the day, we passed the magnificent ruin of Byland Abbey. One of the highlights was being invited to Mary's neighbor, Val, for afternoon tea. And a lovely tea she served too, with her beautiful homemade scones and almond macaroons and chocolate. It was such a treat. Among the meals we had were ribs, which were a great idea suggested by my niece Susie. We used the sauce that I make for my hoisin tacos, and it was a great idea. They were delicious. Of course, Sunday lunch was the gorgeous roast beef we had bought at Coburn's Butcher, accompanied by my sour cream and cucumber salad and Yorkshire puddings made by Susie, and magnificent Yorkshire puddings they were. For our final night, I prepared my tortellini with a twist, a dinner that's become a new favorite, and I'll be making a full video of that in the very near future. And so ended the adventure, starting off on the beautiful Queen Mary 2, traveling to Yorkshire, where we could enjoy village life much as the residents live. Our flight home is always early in the morning, so we traveled down to Manchester the night before. And even that became something of an adventure because initially we got on the wrong train. However, it was a problem easily solved. Arriving in Manchester, my nephew Ian, his beautiful wife Emma, and their gorgeous sons, Sam and Jack, picked us up at our hotel and took us to the small town of Wellesley, where we had a fantastic dinner at a Thai restaurant. Next morning, we early, where we had a nice breakfast, and then boarded the plane. And of course, that was the end of the gourmet delights, since the food served on airplanes this day, I'm sorry to say, is all but inedible. We touched down at Newark Airport, and after a lovely ride home, we arrived, opened the door, and there, waiting to greet us, was our beloved Annie.